3 months into their renewed marriage, Essence Chandler was finally beginning to believe in happily ever after. She stood in the nursery of their Virginia Highland townhouse, watching Owen rock Madison to sleep, his deep voice humming a lullaby that made their daughter's eyes flutter closed. "She's got your stubborn streak already," Essence whispered, moving to adjust the blanket around their 3-month-old daughter. Owen smiled, carefully placing Madison in her crib. "And your beautiful eyes," he replied, wrapping his arms around Essence from behind. Their quiet moment was interrupted by Owen's phone buzzing insistently on the dresser. He frowned, glancing at the screen. "It's Jordan," he said, referring to his lawyer. "At 8 p.m. on a Friday? This can't be good." Essence felt a familiar knot form in her stomach as Owen answered the call, his expression growing increasingly grim. "What do you mean, a custody petition?" Owen's voice was tight with controlled anger. "Jordan, Madison is my daughter. I was there when she was born. I signed the birth certificate." Essence's blood ran cold. She watched Owen's face pale as he listened to his lawyer explain the situation. "We'll be there first thing Monday morning," Owen said finally, hanging up with shaking hands. "What's happening?" Essence demanded, though part of her already knew. "Someone has filed for emergency custody of Madison," Owen said quietly, not wanting to wake their daughter. "They're claiming I'm not her father." "Who would—" Essence started, then stopped as the horrible realization hit her. "Michael," Owen's eyes sharpened. "Dr. Thompson? But you said—" "I lied about the timing," Essence admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "He was in Denver when she was conceived, yes, but—" She took a shaky breath. "We were together before that too, starting 2 weeks before our divorce was final." The words hung in the air between them like a poison. Owen stepped back, running his hands through his hair, a gesture Essence recognized from their worst fights years ago. 2 weeks, he repeated slowly. "So when we slept together in your car after signing the papers, I was already involved with him," Essence finished miserably. "I was so angry at you, so hurt. Michael was kind to me and I thought—" "You thought what?" Owen's voice was dangerously quiet. "That he was better than me? I thought he understood me in a way you never did," Essence said, immediately regretting her honesty when she saw Owen flinch. "But I was wrong, so wrong." Owen walked to the window, staring out at the streetlights. "So there's a chance—" "No," Essence said firmly. "Madison is yours, Owen. I know she is. How can you be sure?" The question cut deep because Essence couldn't be completely sure. The timing was close enough that doubt was possible, and she could see that doubt taking root in Owen's eyes. "Because I can see you in her every day," Essence said desperately, the way she furrows her brow when she's concentrating, just like you do. Her stubborn chin, even the way she grips your finger. Owen turned back to face her, his expression unreadable. "But you can't be medically certain." "No," Essence admitted in a small voice. "I can't." Before Owen could respond, his phone rang again. This time it was his publicist. "Owen, we have a problem," came the frantic voice through the speaker. "There's a story breaking on social media. Someone leaked the custody petition and it's going viral." Essence felt the room spin around her. "What kind of story?" "Tech CEO's secret baby drama," Owen read from his phone, scrolling through the headlines already appearing. "Cheating ex-wife's love child scandal. Jesus, Essence, they have photos." He held up his phone, showing a series of pictures. Essence entering and leaving the hospital where Michael worked, the two of them at a coffee shop near the medical center. One particularly damaging shot of them in what appeared to be an intimate conversation in his office. "How did they get these?" Essence whispered. "Michael's wife," Owen said grimly, still reading. "According to this article, Dr. Linda Thompson has been having her husband followed by a private investigator for months. She suspected the affair and has been building a case." Essence sank into the rocking chair, her legs suddenly too weak to support her. "She thinks Madison is his child, and she wants her," Owen confirmed, his voice hollow. "The article says Dr. Thompson and his wife have been trying to have children for years, multiple failed IVF attempts. If she believes Madison is Michael's daughter, the implications hit them both at the same time. A wealthy, respected physician and his wife, claiming that a tech CEO had stolen their child through marriage to his ex-wife. In the court of public opinion, it would be a compelling narrative." Owen's phone continued buzzing with calls from reporters, business associates, and friends who had seen the story. Social media notifications chimed constantly as the scandal spread. "Turn it off," Essence said quietly. Please, just turn it off. Owen silenced his phone and sat heavily on the edge of their bed. For several long minutes, neither of them spoke, the only sound Madison's soft breathing from her crib. Finally, Essence broke the silence. I'm so sorry, Owen. This is all my fault. Is it? Owen's voice was tired rather than angry. Because right now I'm trying to figure out who to be mad at. You for lying about the timeline? Thompson for filing this petition? Or myself? For walking away from our marriage in the first place? Be mad at me, Essence said, tears streaming down her face. I deserve it. Owen looked at her for a long moment, then walked over to kneel beside her chair. I'm not mad at you for having an affair during our separation. I'm mad that you felt you couldn't tell me the truth about the timing. I was ashamed, Essence whispered, and scared that you'd doubt Madison was yours. Well, now I do doubt it, Owen said honestly, and that doubt is going to eat at me until we get a paternity test. The words hit Essence like a physical blow, even though she knew they were fair. She had created this uncertainty with her lies and half-truths. Will you still fight for her? Essence asked, her voice barely audible. Even if there's doubt? Owen's answer came without hesitation. I've been her father since the moment she was born. Biology doesn't change that. He paused, his jaw tightening. But I need to know the truth, Essence, all of it. No more lies, no more omissions. If we're going to fight this together, I need to know exactly what we're up against. Over the next hour, Essence told Owen everything. The loneliness and anger that had driven her to Michael in the first place. How he had pursued her, made her feel valued and understood. The intensity of their affair, which had lasted 3 months. How Michael had promised to leave his wife, then changed his mind when his career advancement was at stake. The painful end when Essence realized she had been used. He never loved me, Essence said, wrapping her arms around herself. He loved the idea of having something that belonged to you. I was just a way to get back at the successful ex-husband he'd heard so much about. Owen absorbed this information silently, his businessman's mind already analyzing the situation. So when you ended things with him and found out you were pregnant, you chose to believe Madison was mine rather than deal with the possibility she might be his. Yes, Essence admitted. I couldn't bear the thought of being connected to him forever. And when I saw you holding her, saw how much you loved her, she wiped her eyes. I convinced myself it didn't matter who the biological father was. But it does matter, Owen said gently. Not for how I feel about Madison, but for what we're facing legally. What if the paternity test proved what she feared most? Would Owen still look at Madison with such unconditional love? We need a strategy, Owen said, still holding Madison. Jordan will handle the legal side, but we need to think about the public relations aspect too. This story is already spinning out of control. Maybe I should leave, Essence said quietly. Take Madison and go somewhere until this blows over. No. Owen's response was immediate and firm. We face this together, or we don't face it at all. He looked directly at her. You're my wife, Madison is my daughter, and we're a family. Whatever the DNA says, that doesn't change. Despite everything, Essence felt a surge of hope at his words. This was the man she had fallen in love with, not the distracted workaholic who had chosen his company over their marriage, but the loyal, protective partner who would fight for what mattered most. What do we do first? She asked. First, we get that paternity test, Owen said pragmatically. We need facts, not assumptions. Then, we prepare for battle. Monday morning brought a media circus to Jordan Kim's law office. Photographers and reporters clustered outside the downtown Atlanta building, shouting questions at Owen and Essence as they hurried inside with Madison's car seat covered by a blanket. Jordan, a sharp woman in her 40s who had handled Owen's divorce and business legal matters for years, got straight to the point. The custody petition was filed by Dr. Michael Thompson and his wife, Dr. Linda Thompson, she began, spreading papers across her conference table. They're claiming that Michael is Madison's biological father, and that Owen essentially kidnapped her through his marriage to Essence. That's ridiculous, Owen said, though Essence noticed he avoided looking directly at Madison's carrier. Is it? Jordan asked bluntly. Because their timeline is compelling. They have evidence of the affair beginning in March, which would put conception right in their window. They also have. She hesitated, glancing at Essence. They have evidence that Essence deliberately misled Owen about the paternity. Essence's stomach dropped. What kind of evidence? Jordan slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed text messages between Essence and her friend Keisha, sent just days after Madison's birth. I can't tell Owen the truth about the timing, one message read. What if Madison isn't his? What if she's Michael's? I can't lose Owen again, especially not to that mistake. Another message sent a week later. Madison looks more like Owen every day. Maybe I was right to let him believe she's his. She should be his, regardless of biology. Owen read the messages in silence, his expression growing more distant with each line. How did they get these? Essence demanded, her voice shaking with anger and humiliation. Dr. Linda Thompson hired the same investigator who's been following her husband, Jordan explained. Apparently your friend Keisha's phone was hacked months ago as part of their surveillance. They've been building this case for a while. Owen finally looked up from the messages, his eyes cold. You told your friend you weren't sure Madison was mine, but you let me believe she was definitely my daughter. Because I hoped she was, Essence said desperately, because I wanted her to be. Hope and want aren't the same as truth, Owen replied, his voice flat. Jordan cleared her throat. We have bigger problems. The Thompsons have hired Preston Hayes as their attorney. The name hit Owen like a physical blow. Preston? But she... He stopped, understanding dawning in his eyes. She's doing this to hurt me. It appears so, Jordan confirmed, and she's good, Owen. Very good. She's already filed for an emergency hearing to establish temporary custody pending paternity testing. When? Essence asked, panic rising in her voice. Thursday. 3 days from now. Jordan leaned forward. We need to be prepared for the possibility that the court might grant the Thompsons temporary visitation rights, especially if the initial paternity test shows Michael could be the father. Owen stood abruptly, walking to the window that overlooked the busy Atlanta street. What are our options? Fight it every step of the way, Jordan said. Challenge their evidence, question their motives, and hope the paternity test comes back in our favor. And if it doesn't? Owen's voice was barely audible. Then we argue that you've been Madison's father from birth, that you have established parental rights, and that removing her from the only home she's known would be detrimental to her well-being. It wasn't exactly encouraging, and they all knew it. There's something else, Jordan continued reluctantly. Preston has also filed a motion claiming that Owen used his wealth and influence to coerce Essence into marriage to legitimize his claim to the child. Essence gasped. That's not true. Can you prove it? Jordan asked pragmatically. Because they have evidence of Owen paying for Essence's medical care, providing her housing, and arranging her job at DFCS. To an outside observer, it could look like he was buying her cooperation. Owen returned to the table, his business mind engaged despite his emotional turmoil. What about character witnesses? People who can testify to the genuine nature of our relationship. That's a good angle, Jordan agreed. We'll need people who knew you both before and after the divorce, who can speak to your commitment to Madison and to each other. As they discussed strategy, Madison began to fuss in her carrier. Essence moved to comfort her, but Owen was there first, lifting their daughter with practiced ease. The sight of Owen cradling Madison, whispering soft reassurances, brought tears to Essence's eyes. Whatever the DNA said, this man was Madison's father in every way that mattered. But would the law see it that way? After the meeting, Owen and Essence drove home in heavy silence. The media presence had grown outside their townhouse, forcing them to park in the garage and enter through the back door. I need to call my office, Owen said once they were inside. Cancel my meetings for the week. Don't, Essence said quickly. Don't disrupt your entire life for this. Owen stared at her in disbelief. My daughter's custody is at stake, and you think I should worry about meetings? I think I've already cost you too much, Essence replied sadly. Your relationship with Preston, the scandal affecting your business. He set Madison's carrier down carefully and took Essence's hands in his. I meant what I said in the lawyer's office. We're a family, and families stick together. Despite her fears and guilt, Essence felt a surge of love for this man who was choosing them over everything else, even when doubt clouded the situation. That evening, as they tried to establish some normalcy with Madison's bedtime routine, Owen's phone rang. The caller ID showed Preston's name. I should answer it, he said reluctantly. Owen. Preston's voice was crisp and professional when he put the call on speaker. I think we should talk. I think we said everything we needed to say months ago, Owen replied coldly. That was before you stole another man's child, Preston shot back. Did you really think you could build a family on lies and nobody would notice? Madison is my daughter, Owen said firmly, though Essence heard the slight uncertainty in his voice. Is she? Because the evidence suggests otherwise. Preston's tone softened slightly. Owen, I'm trying to do you a favor here. Settle now before this gets uglier. Let Dr. Thompson have visitation rights, acknowledge his paternity, and maybe we can work out a reasonable custody arrangement. Go to hell, Preston, Owen said, but before he could hang up, Preston spoke again. Think about what's best for the child, Owen. Does she really deserve to be raised by a woman who can't even tell the truth about who her father is? The line went dead, leaving Owen and Essence staring at each other in the sudden quiet. She's right about one thing, Essence said quietly. Madison deserves better than this mess. Madison deserves her parents, Owen replied. Both of them, and whatever mistakes we've made, we're going to fix them. But as they lay in bed that night, Madison sleeping peacefully between them in her bassinet, both Owen and Essence wondered if some mistakes were too big to fix, and if their love for each other would be enough to survive the storm that was coming. Dr. Patricia Williams, a court-appointed geneticist, explained the paternity testing procedure with clinical detachment while Owen held Madison on his lap. The baby gurgled happily, oblivious to the gravity of the moment. A simple cheek swab for each potential father and the child, Dr. Williams said. Results will be available in 48 hours and they'll be 99% accurate. Owen kissed the top of Madison's head as the doctor gently swabbed the inside of her cheek. His daughter looked up at him with curious eyes that Essence insisted were identical to his own, though Owen was no longer certain of anything. Michael Thompson sat across the small medical office, his wife Linda beside him. This was the first time Owen had seen the man who had nearly destroyed his marriage, and he was surprised by how ordinary Michael appeared. Average height, thinning brown hair, wire-rimmed glasses. Not the charismatic seducer Owen had imagined. This is ridiculous, Linda Thompson muttered as her husband submitted to his cheek swab. Anyone can see that baby has Michael's nose. Essence, who had remained silent throughout the procedure, finally spoke. Madison is 3 months old. Babies don't look like anyone yet except babies. Don't you dare speak to my wife, Michael said sharply, his first words since entering the office. You've done enough damage to our family. Your family? Owen stood, Madison still in his arms, his voice dangerous. You mean the family you were willing to destroy by having an affair with my ex-wife? Gentlemen, Dr. Williams interrupted, this is a medical facility, not a courtroom. Please maintain professional behavior. Jordan, who had been quietly observing from the corner, stepped forward. Dr. Thompson, perhaps you could explain to my client why you believe you have any claim to his daughter. Michael's lawyer, a thin man with nervous energy, spoke up. My client had an established relationship with Ms. Ward that began before the child's conception and continued through her pregnancy. That's a lie, Essence said hotly. We ended things months before Madison was born. Did you? Michael asked, his voice steady. Because I have evidence of communication between us well into your pregnancy. He pulled out his phone, scrolling to a series of text messages. June 15th. I'm scared, Michael. What if the baby isn't Owen's? June 22nd. I need to see you, please. July 3rd. I keep thinking about what we had together. Owen felt the blood drain from his face as he read over Michael's shoulder. Essence? Essence was staring at the messages in horror. I never sent those. Michael, I never... Are you saying these messages are fake? Jordan asked, her lawyer's instincts kicking in. They have to be, Essence insisted, but doubt crept into her voice as she examined the phone number. It was definitely her number. Linda Thompson smiled coldly. Perhaps you sent them and forgot. You were quite emotional during that time, according to Michael. I would never... Essence began, then stopped, a terrible realization dawning on her face. Keisha. What about Keisha? Owen asked, though he was beginning to understand. She had my phone several times during my pregnancy, Essence said slowly. She was worried about me being alone, thought I was making a mistake by not telling Michael about the baby. She kept saying I should explore all my options. Essence looked at Michael in horror. Did you ask her to, Keisha contacted me shortly after you ended our relationship, Michael admitted. She was concerned about your well-being and thought we should try to work things out. So you manipulated my best friend into sending fake messages from my phone? Essence's voice rose with anger. The messages expressed your true feelings. Michael replied calmly. Keisha was just helping you communicate what you were too afraid to say yourself. Owen handed Madison to Jordan and stepped closer to Michael. You son of a bitch. You couldn't accept that she chose me, so you orchestrated this whole thing. She chose you because you have money, Linda Thompson interjected. Just like she chose Michael because he had status. Your ex-wife is a social climber who uses men to advance her position. That's enough, Owen said dangerously. Is it? Linda continued. Because I know all about Essence Ward. The daughter of a single mother who cleaned offices, who married a rich college boy, then moved on to my husband when that didn't work out. And now she's back with the rich college boy because he's successful. She's a gold digger who got pregnant to trap one of you. The slap came so fast that no one saw it coming. Essence's hand connected with Linda Thompson's cheek with a sharp crack that echoed through the small office. Security! Dr. Williams called immediately. I may have made mistakes, Essence said, her voice shaking with fury. But I have never, ever used anyone for money. I turned down Owen's divorce settlement. I lived in poverty rather than take handouts. And I married him because I love him, not because of his bank account. Linda held her cheek, her eyes bright with anger. We'll see what the judge thinks about your violent tendencies. Jordan immediately went into damage control mode. My client was provoked by deliberate character assassination, she said to the security guard who had entered. However, she apologizes for the physical contact. I don't apologize, Essence said firmly. I'm tired of being painted as a villain by people who don't know me. Owen took Madison back from Jordan and reached for Essence's hand. We're leaving. As they gathered their things, Michael spoke one more time. Essence, you know in your heart that Madison could be mine. Don't deny her the chance to know her real father. Essence turned back to him, her expression sad rather than angry. Michael, you had your chance to be a father to this baby when you thought she might be yours months ago. You chose your marriage and your reputation over her then. Don't pretend this is about love now. My marriage was worth saving, Michael replied, unlike yours apparently. You're right, Essence said quietly. My first marriage to Owen wasn't worth saving. But this one is, and I'll fight anyone who tries to destroy it, including you. The ride home was tense, with Madison sleeping peacefully in her car seat, unaware of the battle being waged over her future. Those messages, Owen finally said, did you know Keisha was sending them? No, Essence replied firmly. I suspected she was in contact with Michael because she kept pushing me to keep my options open, but I never imagined she would impersonate me. She paused. I'm so sorry, Owen. Everyone I trusted has betrayed both of us. Owen considered this. She was trying to help you in her misguided way, just like I was when I tried to control your life with money and influence. This is different. Keisha violated my privacy and potentially damaged our case. Maybe, Owen acknowledged, but her heart was in the right place even if her methods were wrong. They pulled into their garage to find reporters still camped outside their home. Owen's phone had been buzzing constantly with calls from his business partners, concerned about the scandal's impact on Chandler Solutions' reputation. Owen closed his eyes, running his hand through his hair, the old stress gesture that Essence recognized with growing dread. Owen and Essence sat in their living room, Madison finally content in her father's arms. It keeps getting worse, Essence said quietly. No, Owen replied, surprising her. It's getting clearer. We know who our enemies are now, and we know who our allies are. He looked down at Madison, who was gripping his finger with her tiny hand. Whatever the DNA says, I know who I am. I'm her father, and you're her mother, and we're a family. Even if she's biologically Michael's, Essence asked, voicing her deepest fear. Owen was quiet for a long moment, studying Madison's sleeping face. Even then, he finally said, But Essence, I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets. No more protecting me from difficult truths. Whatever happens with this paternity test, whatever comes up in court, I need to know everything. We can't fight this battle if we're not completely honest with each other. Essence nodded, tears streaming down her face. I promise. No more secrets. The results came on a Thursday morning, delivered by Dr. Williams in the same clinical tone she had used for the testing procedure. Owen Chandler's probability of paternity, 99%, she announced to the packed conference room. Michael Thompson's probability of paternity, 0.0%. Owen felt his knees go weak with relief, while Essence burst into tears. This test will hold up in any court, But even as relief flooded through Owen, he noticed something troubling. She's planning something. The paternity test was just the opening move. His suspicions were confirmed that evening when Preston called his personal number. "Congratulations," she said when Owen answered. "You got what you wanted." "What I wanted was the truth," Owen replied carefully. "Now Madison can grow up knowing who her father is." "Can she?" Preston's voice carried a strange undertone. "Owen, we need to meet. There are things about this case that you don't understand." "I understand plenty. You tried to help a man steal my daughter out of spite." "Did I?" Preston challenged. "Or did I help expose the truth about your wife's character?" "Meet me at the Ritz bar in an hour. Come alone." Against his better judgment and Essence's protests, Owen found himself sitting across from Preston in the elegant hotel bar an hour later. She looked immaculate as always, but Owen could see strain around her eyes. "You look good," she said, studying him over her martini. "Fatherhood suits you." "Cut the small talk, Preston. What do you want?" Preston set down her glass and leaned forward. "I want to save your marriage," Owen almost laughed. "By trying to steal my daughter?" "By showing you who you really married," Preston replied seriously. "Owen, did you ever wonder how Michael Thompson knew exactly when to file for custody? How he had such detailed information about Essence's pregnancy timeline? He was sleeping with her." "He would know." "He ended the affair in April," Preston interrupted. "Yet he knew details about doctor appointments in June and July. He knew about your marriage plans before they were publicly announced. He had information that only someone very close to Essence could have provided." Owen felt a chill run down his spine. "What are you saying?" Preston pulled out a tablet and showed him a series of bank statements. Michael Thompson made payments to someone throughout Essence's pregnancy, someone who was feeding him information. Owen studied the statements, noting the regular transfers to an account he didn't recognize. "Who?" "Your wife's best friend wasn't the only one betraying her trust," Preston said quietly. "Owen Essence has been in contact with Michael Thompson throughout your entire reconciliation. She's been telling him about your marriage, your business, your fears about the baby's paternity." The world seemed to tilt around Owen. "That's impossible. Essence hates Michael." "Does she?" Preston slid another document across the table. Phone records showing regular calls between them. Email exchanges. Owen, she never stopped communicating with him. Owen's hands shook as he reviewed the evidence. Calls and texts between Essence and Michael dating back to their reconciliation. Messages that painted a picture of a woman torn between two men, feeding information to both sides. "She's been playing you," Preston continued relentlessly. "The whole reconciliation, the marriage, even her reaction to the custody case, it was all performance. She wanted to see which man would fight harder for her." "No," Owen said weakly. "But the evidence was damning. There has to be an explanation." "There is," Preston replied. "The explanation is that Essence Ward is exactly what Linda Thompson accused her of being, a manipulative woman who uses men to get what she wants." Owen stared at the phone records, his mind racing. Some of the calls were made from their home, while he was at work or sleeping. Others were made during times when Essence claimed to be running errands or at doctor appointments. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked finally. Preston's expression softened. "Because despite everything, I care about you. You deserve better than a woman who would put your child in the middle of her games." "And you think you're that better woman?" Owen asked bitterly. "I think you should know the truth before you waste any more of your life on someone who doesn't deserve your love." Owen gathered up the documents, his hands still shaking. "Even if this is all true, and I'm not saying it is, why would you help expose it?" "You represented Michael in the custody case." Preston smiled sadly. "I took Michael's case knowing he would lose." "The paternity test was always going to prove Madison was yours. But I also knew the process would reveal Essence's true character." She paused. "I wanted you to see what she really is before it was too late to save yourself." Owen stood abruptly, the documents clutched in his hand. "You're sick, Preston. This whole thing was just another way to hurt me." "No," Preston said firmly. "This was my way of trying to save you from making the same mistake twice." As Owen walked away, Preston called after him. "Ask her about the calls, Owen. Ask her why she never mentioned staying in touch with Michael. See what excuse she gives you." The drive home was a blur of conflicting emotions. Owen's logical mind analyzed the evidence Preston had shown him, while his heart rebelled against the implications. Could Essence really have been manipulating him all along? Had their entire reconciliation been built on lies? He found Essence in the nursery, feeding Madison her evening bottle. The sight of his wife and daughter together, so peaceful and natural, made Preston's accusations seem impossible. But the phone records were concrete evidence, impossible to dismiss. "How did it go with Preston?" Essence asked, looking up with a smile that faded when she saw his expression. "Owen, what's wrong?" Owen closed the nursery door and sat heavily in the rocking chair across from her. "Essence, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth." "Of course," she replied, though worry crept into her voice. "Have you been in contact with Michael Thompson during our reconciliation?" The question hung in the air like poison. Owen watched Essence's face carefully, looking for any sign of deception. What he saw was confusion, then understanding, then something that looked like guilt. "Owen, I can explain." "So you have been talking to him," Owen said, his heart sinking. "It's not what you think," Essence said quickly, adjusting Madison in her arms. "He called me a few times after we got back together. I should have told you, but I didn't want to cause problems." "What did you talk about?" Essence hesitated, and Owen knew she was deciding how much to reveal. "He wanted to know if I was happy. If you had really changed. He thought our reconciliation was happening too fast." "And what did you tell him?" "The truth. That I loved you, that we were working things out, that I was hopeful about our future." Owen pulled out the phone records Preston had given him. "According to this, you talked to him 17 times in the past 4 months. Some of these conversations were over an hour long." Essence stared at the papers in shock. 17 times? That can't be right. We only talked a few times." "These are your phone records, Essence. From your cell phone company." "Then someone's made a mistake," she insisted. But Owen could see doubt creeping into her eyes as she studied the dates and times. "Preston also showed me evidence that Michael was paying someone for information about our marriage. Someone who knew intimate details about our lives." The accusation hit Essence like a physical blow. She stood carefully, still holding Madison, and faced Owen directly. "You think I was selling information about us to Michael?" "I don't know what to think anymore," Owen admitted. "Too many lies, too many secrets. How am I supposed to trust anything you tell me?" Madison began to fuss, picking up on the tension in the room. Essence walked to the window, gently bouncing her daughter while she organized her thoughts. The words wounded Essence visibly. "Is that really what you think of me?" "I don't know what I think anymore," Owen replied honestly. "The woman I thought I married wouldn't have lied about the timing of her affair. She wouldn't have kept secrets about staying in touch with her ex-lover. She wouldn't have put our daughter in the middle of a custody battle based on lies." "I never put Madison in the middle of anything," Essence protested. "Michael filed for custody without my knowledge or consent." "I need some air," he said finally, standing to leave. "Owen, please don't walk away from this conversation. We need to work through this together." "Like we worked through the paternity question together?" Owen asked bitterly. "By you lying to me until the truth was forced out? That's not fair. I was protecting our family. Were you, or were you protecting yourself?" The question echoed in the sudden silence. Madison had fallen asleep in Essence's arms, oblivious to the fight that might determine her future. "If you leave now," Essence said quietly, "if you choose to believe Preston over me without giving me a chance to prove my innocence, then maybe we're not as strong as I thought we were." Owen paused at the nursery door. "Maybe we're not." He spent that night in his home office, poring over the evidence Preston had given him and trying to make sense of the discrepancies. The phone records were official, stamped with the cellular company's logo. The bank statements showed regular payments from Michael to an unnamed account. But something about the whole picture felt wrong, orchestrated. Owen closed his laptop and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. But a small voice in the back of his mind warned him that he was being manipulated, led down a path that someone else had carefully constructed. The question was, who was manipulating him and why? Owen didn't sleep that night. At 7 a.m., he called his private investigator. "Marcus, I need you to verify some information," Owen said, forwarding Preston's evidence. "I need to know if any of this has been tampered with, and who really received those payments from Michael Thompson." "How long do I have?" 24 hours. My marriage may depend on what you find." Downstairs, Owen found Essence packed and ready to leave with Madison. "I'm taking Madison to a hotel for a few days. she announced without looking at him. I won't have her watching her parents destroy each other again. Maybe that's best, Owen agreed, though his heart was breaking. Until we figure out what's true. After they left, Owen began his own investigation. He called the coffee shop where the video was allegedly taken. We don't actually record surveillance footage, the manager explained. Our cameras haven't worked in over a year. The cellular company confirmed his suspicions. Mr. Chandler, these phone records have been altered. Your wife's actual call history shows only 3 calls to Dr. Thompson, all under 5 minutes. When Marcus called the next morning, Owen met him at a downtown diner. The bank statements are real, Marcus began, but the recipient wasn't Essence. The payments went to Keisha Williams, your wife's best friend. Owen stared in shock as Marcus continued. The coffee shop video was staged with an actress impersonating your wife, and Preston Hayes has been in contact with Michael Thompson for months, orchestrating this entire scheme. Marcus slid more documents across the table. Preston accessed your wife's real phone records to create convincing forgeries, paid for the fake video, and embezzled money from her law firm to fund the operation. She knew the paternity test would prove Madison was yours. The whole point was to destroy your trust in Essence. Owen felt sick thinking how close he'd come to believing it all. I have to find Essence. He called almost every hotel in Atlanta until he found her. Essence, I'm sorry I let you down again, but I'm coming to you. He thought to himself as he walked to his car. Owen found Essence in the hotel lobby, Madison sleeping in her stroller. She looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. When she saw him approaching with the folder of real evidence, she stood but didn't move toward him. Essence, I am so sorry, but I have proofs now, Owen said, his voice breaking. About the fake phone records, the staged video, Keisha's betrayal, all of it. Essence looked through the documents silently, tears streaming down her face. When she finished, she handed them back and finally met his eyes. So you know the truth now, she said quietly. Essence, I'm so sorry. Are you? She interrupted, because part of me thinks you wanted to believe the worst about me. It would have been easier than trusting in what we'd built. Owen felt the truth of her words like a physical blow. You're right, I was scared. Scared that our happiness was too good to be true, that I didn't deserve a second chance with you. When Preston showed me that evidence, it almost felt like confirmation of what I feared all along. That I was using you? That I was going to lose you again, Owen admitted, his voice raw. And if it was because you betrayed me, then it wouldn't be my fault this time. Essence sank back into her chair, Madison stirring but not waking. So instead of fighting for us, you sabotaged us. I did, and I don't know how to forgive myself for that, let alone ask you to. They sat in the hotel lobby surrounded by strangers, their marriage hanging by a thread. Owen watched Essence's face, seeing the war between love and self-preservation playing out in her expression. There's something I need to tell you, Essence said finally. Something I should have said months ago. Owen braced himself for another revelation. When I was with Michael, there were moments when I thought I loved him, she continued, her voice barely audible. Not the way I love you, but he made me feel valued when you made me feel invisible. When I found out I was pregnant, there was a part of me that hoped the baby was his, because I thought it would force him to choose me. The admission hurt, but Owen forced himself to listen. But as the pregnancy progressed, I realized I didn't want her to be his daughter. I wanted her to be ours because, despite everything, you were the only man I'd ever truly loved. She looked at Madison, then back at Owen. I lied about the timing because I was terrified of losing you again. And now? Owen asked. Now I know that love isn't enough without trust, Essence replied. We're both letting fear control us, you afraid of being vulnerable, me afraid of being abandoned. Owen reached across the space between them and took her hand, relief flooding through him when she didn't pull away. What would it look like if we weren't afraid? He asked. Essence considered this. It would look like me trusting that you love me enough to hear difficult truths without running. And you trusting that I love you enough to tell you those truths, even when they might hurt. I want that, Owen said earnestly. I want to be brave enough to trust in us, even when it's scary. It won't be easy, Essence warned. We have patterns to break, wounds to heal. I know, but Essence, what we have is worth fighting for. Our family is worth fighting for. Madison chose that moment to wake up, looking around the unfamiliar lobby with curious eyes. When she saw Owen, she reached for him with a happy babble, and he carefully lifted her from the stroller. "Hey there, princess," he murmured, his daughter immediately settling against his chest. "Daddy missed you." Watching them together, Essence felt the last of her walls crumble. This man, flawed as he was, loved their daughter completely. And despite his fears and mistakes, she knew he loved her too. "Come home with me," Owen said, looking up from Madison to meet Essence's eyes. "Please, let's go home and start over. No more secrets, no more fear-based decisions. Just truth, even when it's hard." Essence studied his face, seeing the vulnerability he was finally allowing her to witness. "And if we mess up again? If old patterns creep back in? Then we'll face it together," Owen replied. "We'll get help, we'll communicate. We'll remember that our love is stronger than our fears." Standing up slowly, Essence moved closer to Owen and Madison. Her daughter reached for her with both hands, creating a bridge between her parents. "Okay," Essence whispered, tears of hope replacing tears of despair. "Let's go home." Owen stood, shifting Madison to one arm so he could wrap the other around Essence. "I love you," he said against her hair. "Both of you. More than my pride, more than my fear, more than anything." "I love you too," Essence replied, allowing herself to lean into his strength. "And I'm choosing to trust in that love, no matter what comes next." As they walked out of the hotel together, Madison content in her father's arms and her mother's hand in his, Owen knew that this moment was different from all their previous reconciliations. This time they weren't coming back together out of passion or desperation or convenience. They were choosing each other with full knowledge of their flaws and fears, committed to building something stronger than what they'd lost. The work ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in years, Owen felt genuinely hopeful about their future. They had faced the worst that pride, fear, and manipulation could throw at them, and their love had survived. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would meet them together, not as the broken people they used to be, but as the family they had chosen to become. If you enjoyed this story, kindly like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more. See you next time.